Well, we were just talking about it there. Friday's historic ruling against Roe v. Wade obviously continuing to have effects, notably in the state of Michigan, where it's causing not just concern but confusion. That is because back in May, Planned Parenthood obtained an injunction to stall the enforcement of Michigan's 1931 abortion ban. The group did that in case the top court overruled this landmark case. Ashley Fennessy is the Director of Communications for Planned Parenthood Michigan. She's here to tell us all about it. So, Ashley, despite this injunction, you have the governor saying today, for instance, that there is still confusion in Michigan when it comes to seeking abortions. What can you tell us about what this means for people who are seeking an abortion right now?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of confusion, especially among patients. When the Supreme Court decision came down Friday, we did get an influx of calls from patients calling our health centers, worried that they wouldn't be able to come to their appointments. We did assure them that abortion is still legal in Michigan. They could keep their appointments, and anyone who needed to make an appointment can do so. And then since then, we've been working to make sure everyone in Michigan knows that abortion is still legal. It should remain legal while Planned Parenthood of Michigan's case proceeds. And we are optimistic that ultimately our lawsuit will result in that 1931 ban being ruled unconstitutional under Michigan's state constitution and other civil rights laws.
Okay, I don't want to get too deep into the legal intricacies here, but can you give us just sort of the simple version of what your case is, which is separate, as I understand it, from this lawsuit, this case that the governor has brought forward. But what is Planned Parenthood's argument for why the state ought not to refer back to this 1931 ban?
Yes. Planned Parenthood of Michigan is arguing that the 1931 ban is unconstitutionally vague, and it is unconstitutional under Michigan's state constitution and state civil rights laws.
Okay, so you have this case. The governor is also seeking clarity from Michigan's top court on this question. You look at what just happened with Roe v. Wade in the Supreme Court in the United States. I heard you say a minute ago that you're optimistic. I guess I wonder why you're optimistic in the face of what you've just seen.
We are optimistic about our lawsuit because the judge that granted our preliminary injunction did indicate that she thinks we have a strong argument in our lawsuit, and we are optimistic that it will eventually be struck down. I would also say that our advocacy arm, Planned Parenthood Advocates of Michigan, is working to pass a ballot measure in the November election that would permanently protect abortion access and other reproductive freedoms in Michigan.
I certainly want to get into the November election in a minute because obviously there are pretty big political consequences, but I also just want to stay with this moment for a second. I imagine that you have to contemplate the prospect that the legal action by both yourself and the governor won't succeed. What would that look like? What would that mean for people in Michigan if you're not successful? Particularly given what's happening with trigger laws in other states right now.
Yes, that would be devastating. There are about 2.2 million Michiganders of reproductive age who could lose abortion access if a ban were to take effect. In that case, Planned Parenthood would be working hard to connect people with care in other states such as Illinois or New York and potentially Canada, but more likely states in the U.S.
Okay, I do want to get into the Canadian part of the discussion in a moment, but let's push through right now to the political discussion. Michigan is called sometimes a purple state, right? Attorney General, governor who are Democrats, but the House and the Senate controlled by Republicans. Tell me how much you think this particular discussion about abortion access is likely to figure into that November vote. Because obviously there are a lot of other issues going on, a lot of people concerned about, for instance, cost of living, gun rights, all kinds of things like that. Where do you see this fitting into the political discussion?
Mm-hmm. First, I want to say that it's devastating that this is coming to a political discussion. Really, these should be deeply personal healthcare decisions that people are making. But as far as the elections coming up, I will say that a clear majority of Michiganders support safe and legal abortion in Michigan and want it to remain that way. even in 2018, when our governor, attorney general, and secretary of state were elected, we know that their support for reproductive health and rights was a large reason why so many voters came out and enthusiastically supported them. And we hope that that will be the case again.
I do want to finish by asking you, coming back to what you were saying about Canada. I know that your group put out a statement where you say, quote, "At this time, traveling to Canada is not necessary." Do you feel that officials in Canada ought to be preparing, despite the optimism you've talked about in this interview, for the prospect of women traveling across the border in order to seek an abortion?
Yeah, this is really an all hands on deck moment. So any efforts that leaders in Canada can take to be prepared are appreciated, especially because Michigan is nowhere near the only border state in the U.S. that might turn to Canada for care. So yes, we appreciate any efforts by Canadian leadership to ensure that not only their country, but also perhaps members of ours can access abortion.
Do you think it is realistic, though? I mean, it's difficult to make a blanket statement about women seeking abortion, but we know that a lot of them do not have a lot of options. They don't necessarily have financial means. We know that a lot of Americans don't, or a significant portion of Americans, I should say, don't even have a passport. So in terms of when Canadians are wondering to what extent we might see women crossing the border, how significant, I guess, do you think that influx could be?
I can't give you projections on numbers. I will say that you are right that the people who face the most barriers to abortion access are people with low incomes, people living in rural areas, people who typically may not have a passport or enhanced driver's license or other identification that could get them over the border. So navigating those waters will be a difficult task for both providers here in the U.S. trying to connect patients and just patients in general looking for where that they can access care. I do want to say that anyone in any state looking for abortion access can visit abortionfinder.org, and that will connect them with the nearest providers for them wherever they are.
Okay. Ashley Fennessy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.